Jack, love, and peace.
Faith, is that your TV on in the background?
Right, you hear my
All
TV?
right, greetings everyone. Today is December 22nd, 2020. Dear most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for yet another opportunity of prayer. We thank you, God, for allowing each and every one of us to see yet another day. Oh, God, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this gathering. We thank you, God, for this life that we'll continue to celebrate. God, we ask you, God, that you would just anoint us and let us feel the love and let our love be exuberated throughout this show to others. In Jesus' mighty and precious name we pray. Amen.
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 Man, you
I
starting
thank
off with big
everybody.
words, exuberated. You read the dictionary today?
Before
Man.
we start, greetings everyone. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. We continue in the celebration of Bishop James H. Everett this week. And I figured that as we narrowed it down, this year is coming to an end. I wanted to bring my crew on and, you know, my support cast and do this show with me leading up until the final show next week, which I believe that the Lord is going to give me something special to do. As before I introduce my guests, I want to give some birthday shout outs. I want to shout out to Faith's daughter, our niece, the lovely Sharonda. I do believe Sharonda is the oldest so-called grandbaby out the crew, right? For Bishop?
She might be. She
I want to say
35?
Sharonda might be the first.
No, Tasha.
Tasha, my age.
Michelle Bagby's son.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
Chris. Right. Yeah.
So shout out to Sharonda on her birthday. Shout out to my niece Davina. I love you, baby girl. Shout out to Leslie Brown, who celebrates her birthday today. And our boy who bring in the Mike Singletary, Antonio Simmons. Happy born day, my peoples. And last but certainly not least, I want to wish another happy anniversary to my parents, Marvin and Gwen Bennett, who celebrated 46 years of marriage on Sunday. You know, and it's perfect time with this show being a celebrating the Bishop's life. Bishop was actually my dad's best man in his wedding. So, you know, shout out to my parents again. I want to thank them for their love connection. For without them, I wouldn't be here. So, you know, happy anniversary, mom and dad.
Right. We wouldn't be having this show.
Exactly. So with that being said, tonight I got the crew. I got my big bro. You know, everybody know Lamar. Y'all know him from the picture and all the different pictures on Facebook. He's not a first time guest. He's a repeat offender on the show. Then I got the big sister Faith as well. She's back with us, and then we'll have Valerie and Joey, a few other guests coming in later. But you know, ladies first, Faith. I'm gonna start with you. We continuing to celebrate the life of Bishop. Just tell me a little bit, or tell the people rather, exactly who exactly Bishop was to Faith.
Well, I remember going to Jesus is Coming. I was 11 years old. And at first, you know, I was shy off. I didn't really try to get close to him or anything, you know, but the older I got and the father figure in him came out, even though I have a good had a good relationship with my father and everything, you know, Bishop became family. And he made that perfectly clear a couple of years before he passed away, that I was his family. I was closer to him to some of his family members. I was close to him. And I just remember different things as a youth. Just, he used to take us places, me and my brother. He used to say to my brother, he used to say, y'all hungry? Y'all want a hot dog? And Lamar, he a boy, he always hungry. He was like, yeah. He would take us right after church. We went to Coney Island. It was just, I think me and my brother was the only youth that was there. I couldn't remember any other youth person being with us. I remember him just taking the youth people at Jesus is Coming different places. We was at the Ground Round one day, and it was the youth, and we was all at the table, we're talking, and Bishop kept saying, y'all better pick what y'all want to eat, because when the waitress come, and if y'all don't know, I'm gonna order for you. So we was like, I think he ended up ordering for everybody because we all was just talking, and whatever he picked, we ate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did so much. I remember when we went into 801, and it was different rooms, it was different rooms in there. And he said to us, the youth, what room did we want? What did we want to do in our room? And I remember somebody was saying, it was at the time when graffiti was real big. And we said, we wanted one wall, we wanted our room to have graffiti in it. Yeah, he looked at us like we was crazy. But he agreed to do one wall, but it never had, it just never panned out. He really, really was big with the youth. Really spent a lot of time with the youth, with the young.
Yeah, he did.
And he always wanted us to be more. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of us, we all went our separate ways and everything, but we never forgot home.
Yeah.
And I just remember when I left, did whatever, my thing or whatever. And then when I came back, I used to come to 8:00 service. And then he used to talk to me and say that he wanted me to be an adjutant. And I was like, yeah. And I think it took like 2 or 3 years before I agreed. But when I went into that role, I took that role seriously. It wasn't something to, that wasn't to play with. It wasn't, oh, I'm close to the bishop and everything. Yeah. I was already close to him, so that was nothing new. It's just my role a little bit had changed. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed driving because I used to drive for him a lot. And I used to love driving for him. And then I would after I finished driving him, I came home, I used to go in my pocketbook. He used to drop money in my pocketbook. I was like, what? When did he put this money in my pocketbook? I wasn't doing it for nothing. I was doing it just because. Not that he was going to give me something. He was rewarding me for whatever reason. It was just because I loved him. And I really, really loved him. And when my father passed away, first when my grandmother passed away, Bishop had just had his own surgery. And he didn't supposed to speak for like a couple of months. And when they called us and told us my grandmother passed, I called them. And I said, well, she passed away. He beat us to the nursing home. And then at the, when we was at the church and everything for the funeral and the wake, he kept jumping up, going to the you remember, he just kept jumping up, going to the mic. We was like, you can relax. But he just wanted to, he always showed love. He just wanted to be there, even though he didn't supposed to speak. I think he did speak at her, he did the eulogy, which he didn't supposed to. Right. Because of his own health. Right. He always put other people first before him and his health. And I really admired him and I loved him for that. Even when my father passed, he was there. He was always there. And like my father, he didn't like get jealous or nothing that he would call me if I was with Bishop Everett. He was like, oh, tell Jimmy I said so. I said, I can't call him that. He said, but they knew each other. So that's the name they called each other. So, so be it. And I remember being with my father, dropping him off. And then Bishop called and said, when you finish with that old man, can you come help this old man? But I didn't do, I did it just because. I know people used to not like me, and they just thought, I guess they just thought I was trying to be close to him, but I was already close to him. So it was nothing. It was nothing. I was doing it just because of who he is. And I loved him just like a father. And I love him now. And when he passed away, I'm like, man, both of my fathers is gone. But, you know, I mean, it get hard. Sometimes I sit and I think, you know, about the, you know, different times, good times, bad times, whatever. But it always, you know, I pray about it and I get emotional sometimes, but to God be the glory. And that's pretty much how I feel about Bishop Everett.
You're on the Marvin Bennett show.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Thanks for sharing that with us. What about you, Marvin? Like, what was that? What was that early experience like for you before you became the relationship evolved to what it did? What was that like that initial part of developing a relationship with him like?
So I'm gonna try to be quick with the story, but true story. I never even told Bishop this. My first, I guess, introduction or my first knowing who he was, or not really knowing who he was, but my first, I guess, being introduced to him, who he was. So, you know, Bishop was a big dude, you know, and very light on his feet. You know, Bishop should have been on somebody's offensive or defensive line. But anyway, so I want to say I was probably 10 or 11. This was right after Apostle Skinner died. And Bishop, he preached one service at the temple. And so, you know how Bishop was, man. When Bishop was preaching, even way back then, when he was preaching, the spirit come over him. He gets so animated, you know, and he be jumping all around, and you know, and I was a little scrawny kid, and you know, Bishop, big dude, and the temple, you know, the pulpit was already like a stage. It was already about 4 feet high anyway, and then you got this big 6'2", 6'3", however tall Bishop was, man, up there, you know, preaching and jumping around and you know, being real animated. It was kind of terrifying, you know, a little bit. But so, you know, he'd have a prayer line. You know, he had a prayer line, and my grandmother, she had me trained, and she had a trainer who was like, "Yo, prayer line, you need to get your butt up in this prayer line so you know you could be straight." So of course, you know how the temple was. It was so big, so the line was real long. So I had a long time to watch, and Bishop steady praying for people, and the spirit just laying them out. He laying hands on them. It seemed like he was just coming down hard with his hand, hitting them. Boom! People were falling out. I was like, man, ain't no way in the world I'm going around there. So you know, you get closer. I dipped from the line, and so of course, you know, when we after church and we get in the car, Nanny like, what happened? What was you? I was like, oh, I had to go to the bathroom. I lied, but it was just that he was just so big and animated. And it scared the crap out of me, man. I'm gonna tell you, because I was, like I said, I was like 10, 11 maybe, and I was just some little scrawny kid. So fast forward to when I finally came to Jesus Is Coming. You know, my grandmother, she was like, yo, they got me coming to church. I think Faith had already started going. So I came after. So I didn't know who it was, who church we was going to, because I didn't remember his name or anything. Man, when I walked in that door and saw him, I was petrified, yo. I like froze for a little bit. I was scared, straight up, man. So
that's that big guy again.
Yup, for real. So, but after church, Nanny took me up. And she didn't, you know, nobody knew. I never told anybody that. But anyway, Nanny took, you know, we went up, and you know, Bishop, he always greeted everybody, even way back then. So Nanny took me up, introduced me to him and Pastor V, and you know, I started coming more often. And it's like Faith said, he always invested time in the young people. I mean, I don't know if it was because he was a young minister, but whatever it was, he, you know, it was really important to him to make sure that us youngins, I guess, felt a part of the service. You know, he always made sure we were included. He always did things with us, and that just made, I know for me, the fact that there were so many people close to my age of young people there, it made coming to church a little, you know, fun, even though, you know, it was a serious deal, you know, and you know, so that was that's how it grew, you know. And he always, the other thing, like Faith said, he would, because we lived so far, because we lived in Elizabeth, he wanted us in church so much, you know, and he made sure that if we got to church, he would make sure that we got home. If it meant he would drive us himself after service. So I'm, you know, on Sunday, you're looking at, you know, 2 services, because it was the afternoon service and the night service. And then, you know, after that night service, he's getting in the car, driving us to Elizabeth. You know, and then he was doing that same thing, you know, if it was church during the week or whatever, he'd tell my grandmother, don't worry about it. He'd make sure he got us home. And he just was pouring and investing that time and that love, you know, and it was never really about him giving us stuff or doing stuff for us, because, you know, he would do that, you know, he'd feed us, or, you know, see if we wanted to, like, there was quite a few times on the way home, we'd stop and play video games. We'd go by our arcade, or we stop at this diner and we be playing video games. You know, it was just, but all the while we're driving home, he was always talking to us, you know, talking to us about, you know, school, talking to us about what we want to do with our lives, but, you know, talking to us about, you know, being good Christian kids, you know, about making sure you keeping God first. You know, it was always, you know, he was a father, you know, and for me, you know, I didn't have a father growing up. I mean, you know, I had Faith's dad, you know, my stepfather, but after I could call him or you know, he was there, but for a long period of time he wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, so growing up it was just me and my sister and my mother. And so, you know, Bishop, he became that father. And I know I know other of us coming up in church, it was the same deal. You know, some of us didn't have that physical father in the house or at home with us, but Bishop became that father. And you know, I respected him as my father. I loved him as my father. I still love him. There was nothing that you know, that he couldn't ask me to do that I wouldn't do, you know, I wouldn't do for him. You know, when I got my driver's license, you know, it was like, you know, I was loving it, you know, because I knew Nanny was going to give up the keys and let me drive it. Shoot, man, Bishop started, you know, like, yo, come on, get behind the wheel, you know, and he was letting me drive, you know, his car, drive him, take him, you know, somewhere, or go run an errand for him or do something for him. It was that whole, you know, it was just like a father would do his son. I mean, I remember, you know, he went to speak down south. He took me down south for the first time. I went down south with the church for the first time. I remember myself, Bishop, and your father went down south. Bishop went to preach, and me and your father went with him, you know? And I was driving down, you know what I'm saying? It was cool with me. They let me drive, and, you know, it was all fun, but it was just that whole father thing. I needed shoes. He took me to the store and bought me some shoes. He didn't have to do that. You know, I appreciated it. I never once asked him for anything. You know, everything he ever did, he did it out of love. If he saw that I needed something, you know, he would do it. But that's just how he was. You know, with his time, he was so open-hearted, so free-hearted, such a really, I don't put great on too many people. I think people overuse the word great, but he was great in my eyes. You know what I mean? He was a great human being. Yeah. And I don't ever remember meeting his mom, but I always remember my mother and my grandmother telling me how his mother had such a sweet spirit and how she
Mhm.
was, and they always said that he had that same spirit that that his mom had. So it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Look like JoAnn in the house. Hey
Hey,
Joey.
Joey.
Hey,
Hey Joey,
What's good, Joey?
congratulations.
thank you. We
Looking
still at
good.
the church, guys. We
Yeah,
recording.
I
Y'all
see
gonna
that.
All
It's
sing?
all
good.
good.
We gonna
Huh?
sing? We gonna sing?
Yeah, we gonna all sing. 1, 2,
Hey
3.
Val. Val,
Val is on her phone. I'm on mine.
Hey y'all.
Val
Everett
looking
is
like
sitting on the
Badu.
organ.
What's good, Val?
How y'all doing? How
Let's
y'all
go.
doing?
Right, sis.
Hanging in there. What's good, Jay?
Okay.
And
Sorry for
right,
being late,
standing right
guys.
behind me.
All
We're
right.
trying to
No
multitask.
problem.
I don't think we ever met, Jay. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very well, very well.
I
Now,
know who you are, but I've never met you
Hey,
before.
that's you.
I think
I don't
Marvin, you said
understand
that Darlene is
Lamar
his
saying he
mom.
never met Jay.
You know his
What is he
mom,
talking about?
Darlene,
Deborah.
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 Definitely.
Okay.
You
Arlene,
know his mom.
Marvin
No,
said
Darlene is his
Darlene.
mom.
I
Arlene.
mean, Darlene. I'm sorry.
See that?
That's what I said. Yeah.
All
I was
right.
like, but y'all should know Jay.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been going for a while.
And
You
so
telling
has
your
he.
age.
Yeah.
Forget
Lamar was out
stuff.
there.
It's all good.
You
All
forget
right,
stuff already?
All right, well, somebody else. I'm passing the mic.
Yeah. So, Joey, you right on time, Joey. Actually, we're gonna go to Val first. No,
Wait a minute, let me
Joe.
go outside because I
Uh,
can't hear y'all. Y'all know how the music gonna get when it's too loud. They think it's only them.
Both of y'all
my
at church?
favorite spot in church.
Huh?
Both of
Yep.
you
Yeah,
at
my
church.
favorite spot in church. You can't find me nowhere else but at the music's corner.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Val
both
look like
here.
she out in the front.
Yeah, she
We
was in the
both are
behind here.
now.
Okay. All right.
We didn't expect to be here this long. We supposed to be done, but you know we on Black people time, so.
Yeah, always.
So, Joey, what was it like being? First of all, thank you. I told my mom, I said, when I watched the tribute service last week that Anessa did for Bishop, I was like, I absolutely forgot how much I love hearing you sing. Like you killed it, yo. Joey, hands down. I'm not just saying it because it's you, but you are one of my favorite singers, yo. I'll put you up against anybody, yo.
Thank the Lord.
I love to hear you sing, yo.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
what was it? What was it like being the niece of Bishop?
Wow. Listen, Bishop was amazing. Although Valerie and Kim think they were the favorites, right? But I just have to say it was me. He told me.
That's why I used that picture with the three of y'all and him.
He told me it was me. So I don't know what they're talking about, but it was an honor. Not only was he my uncle, and not many, I guess a lot of people know, is actually Bishop is my uncle by marriage,
Mm-hmm.
because Overseer is my dad's sister. Mm-hmm. But it just didn't seem like that. He was just family, he was just my family, through marriage. Without marriage, Bishop was my uncle, and I loved him dearly. It was amazing, but it was also challenging, because as you know, I wasn't a preacher's kid, mm-hmm. but I was a part of the first family, so to speak, extended kind of, so it has its challenges as well, but I'm honored. I'm still honored to be a part. I love Bishop so much. People always thought because we were family, we got to talk to him all the time, but that really wasn't the case. He was about ministry, mm-hmm. and he loved people, mm-hmm. People. So it wasn't, I had a direct line if I needed to connect with him, but I respected him so much that I allowed him to be who he needed to be for the people without intruding, because I was a part of the family.
Didn't
so
take advantage of the relationship.
Yeah, I just didn't do it. I didn't take advantage of it. Thank you, Lamar. I really didn't. And I honored him and I respected him because he was about the people. He was about souls. Do you guys remember when we first had that sign put across the street, 801? Was it 100,000 souls?
So,
Remember when we first did that, right?
yeah.
Yep.
He was
Hey, but check this out, Joey. I noticed something on the tribute last week that really like took my admiration to a whole nother level, because I do vividly remember the 100,000 souls, and I remember being a little sarcastic kid, just thinking like, you can't get 100,000 folks saved. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people. But then when I looked at the tribute service last week and I looked at the sign again, it said 100,000 souls a day.
wow.
So that's powerful that a man would be so compelling to say that I'm going to set a goal to reach 100,000 souls for Christ a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine
Right.
where the body of Christ would be, where the kingdom would be now, if we had more preachers that had that type of mentality, that type of hunger for reaching souls? Not
That's
about
right.
membership, not about the offerings, not about the big numbers,
Yeah.
but to reach souls.
All he wanted was
right.
to get him saved. He wasn't trying to make a
That's
member of
it.
his church. Just
There
Right.
are countless people that tell us all the time that Bishop, they got saved under hearing Bishop, but one of the first things that he would tell you is, I don't care whether you're a member of my church or not. Find some place.
Right.
Mhm.
You don't have to come to my church. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I just want to know that you have a relationship with Christ established for yourself.
True that.
And you know
And
what?
that
He
is
wasn't
priceless.
selfish. He wasn't selfish. I had friends that started going to the church and would come to the church, and they decided that, this wasn't the place for them. For whatever reason, Bishop would still reach out to them to make sure that they were fine, and one of my girlfriends said to me, he said, all he wanted to make sure was my soul was right.
Yep.
And that I was still doing what I needed to do unto
That's
the
powerful.
Lord. It wasn't about, why did you leave my church? I need you here. It was about me being a part of the, just having salvation and making sure that I lived a life.
Oh, did she
Right.
freeze?
And that spoke volumes about our bishop.
I think technical
Absolutely.
difficulties.
Oh, you guys.
Hello? Is everybody froze?
Oh, we did? Oh,
But
wow.
me.
Nah, yeah, we all good.
Okay.
It's not frozen on our end.
Oh.
I just
Yeah,
said
but
it spoke volumes.
it's just a
about
testament of the man. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember this, Joey, because we didn't even talk about it on the Maranatha show. And I wish I had to ask less about the particulars because I don't remember it. But I do remember it was something with the school. I was in first grade, and I remember we all was in uniform, and we had to march down to City Hall. Something
Was
with
that in Orange or in Irvington?
Irvington.
Okay.
Right across the street from, we had to go to the police station right in front of, I want to say that they was trying to close the school down or something. And Bishop said, okay, that's fine. And the whole student body went to court in our uniforms, and we all sat in the chairs. Okay, if you want to close the doors for these children here so that they can't learn, you got to tell them that to their face.
Right, right.
And we never lost access to the school.
Right.
We never lost access to the school. And that was like one of the first things, like it almost reminded me of like the same years later in Malcolm X. When Malcolm X gave him the finger, like, but who has the audacity to say, I'm gonna march my student body up because I care that much. Yeah. I'm not gonna send somebody else down there, but I'm gonna lead you guys. I'm not gonna send you on a march, but I'm gonna lead the march. I'm gonna lead the frontier. And it's like memories like that are invaluable because we watch movies and we read books about these different individuals, but we got to know somebody like this here firsthand.
Yeah.
I always tell my personal friends, if there was a Bible that was written today in modern times, there's no way that Bishop James H. Everett wouldn't be in there.
That's right. You remember when we marched into this building, 8:15? You guys remember that?
Now I was gone by the time you guys got to 8:15, but I do remember marching from 43 down to 801.
Oh, and yes, and march from 43 to 801.
I remember that.
Memories.
Yeah.
Just powerful. And remember when Bishop found this building where he didn't have to look far, it was right across the street.
Yeah.
But and he, you know, we would come in here and look around like, is he serious? Like this was a
Car
automotive place.
dealership.
Yeah.
Car dealership.
It was a car dealership.
Yeah, the car dealership. I'm like, what? You know,
Well, 801 was a funeral home.
funeral home. Yes.
And more, I'm definitely gonna get into that next week. That's gonna be a part of my wrap up, like, cause like I said, I don't want to get too much away now, but it's just a testament of the man, not just the man, but the man of God that the man was.
That's right.
Because what I'm gonna do next week is I'm gonna be led of the Lord. I'm gonna see what direction He takes me in. But I did want to highlight that aspect. You know, I've been saying with all of these shows that, you know, God doesn't give a people a vision. God gives a man a vision. You know, and I thank God that Bishop was a visionary.
Yes, he was.
And like I said, I'm gonna get into it next week. But I asked a question, and I don't want to get into that whole controversy now because this ain't the time or place for it. But I asked the question last week to some of the older peers, some of the older saints. I said, when Apostle Skinner died, why didn't Bishop take over the temple? You know what I mean? So, because you know that's is inquiring minds want to know, especially us later generations. You know what I mean? So, but one of the things that I got,
Val says she got some words. So she got something on that.
Evangelist.
You want to touch on that, Val?
I won't give names because they are rest in peace.
Yeah.
But somebody very close to the pastor, Nichols, said to me, I love the leader there, but this should have gone to Bishop Everett. They did not come in. They were attending the temple. And I was like, okay, so how do I answer this? And I learned real quick, just shut up, listen and go, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Had he, it would not be what it was, and it would have still been.
Yep.
And my response time was this, you know, I've heard that from others that are in, without calling names, but they are, that's true. Then I took it another step and said, but God's will was still done because he was able to do what he had to do the way God gave it to him.
Yep.
And that time, that's a overseer speak. I said, something that just registered in my mind and heart. This is the house that the Everetts built.
Right.
You can't say nobody else found it, nobody else did whatever. They built this house.
Right. Yeah.
And it's still growing. And though he's resting in peace and home with his father, and we know that we miss him immensely, but this house is still growing.
Yep.
And the shout out to Overseer V to be able to take this on by herself. She's no novice. She started it with him, but now she's doing it all. So shout out to Overseer, because if it was, I'd have said, God bless y'all, make the love be. I'm moving to Florida.
I'm running back in rehearsal, but I'm gonna keep y'all on video so y'all can just see us. We're not gonna keep y'all on. We're gonna put you on mute, but y'all gonna see us.
Okay.
And Val,
Good.
Val, thanks for getting all into my message for next week. But that's one of the things that I was going to say. You know, when I actually prayed about it, and I asked people about it, but I prayed about it too, and I was like, and I thought about it from its totality. We're talking about a man of God. We're talking about a visionary. One of the things that you know, Marv, we sports guys, so you know, I always love a sports analogy. One thing I try to tell people is, I don't care. LeBron James could have literally been Michael Jordan's biological son, but he could never be good enough because he's Michael Jordan's son. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to, you know, follow in certain
footsteps. In those footsteps.
You can't. It just can't be done. Some footsteps can't be done. And when I think about the man, when I think about the visionary and the man of God that he was and who he became, I look at it as a true example of a God experience. And the reason I say that is because me personally, I got to know God in a whole different level, in a whole different way when we moved to Arkansas, because we didn't know anybody there. It was an actual faith move. So God, all I have to do is rely on you now. So I know that everything that you bless me with here, it comes from you. There's nothing that I did because I have no background, I have no footing here. And when I think about Bishop, he couldn't start in a ministry that was already developed.
Yeah.
Because what God gave him was for him to do.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And when you think about, and I think I'm a dude that I like symbolism. I like to look for little clues and confirmation. And one of the beautiful things to me is the testament of knowing that this was a man of God is, why would you give a man a building that represents death to bring back life? That's a beautiful, only God could do something like that.
Yeah.
He took a funeral home and said, listen, I want you to build me a house.
Yes.
A house of worship. Yes, I know that this represents death. This is where people go for their final goodbye. But I'm going to use this same altar where people come to view their loved ones for the last time. I'm going to use this same footage as an altar where people become here that are dead already and receive life. That's a powerful thing. Yeah. That's a powerful thing to me. And it's like, to be a part of something like that, like you said, we remember. I remember the first time when we first went in the kitchen, when we first got to church, and me as a youngster realizing what it is, and you know your grandmother, she over the kitchen. I'm like, man, I'm not going down there. Ain't that where they used to stand and bomb the bodies? And we're gonna turn that into a kitchen? No, I'm not going down there. I ain't prayed up enough yet. I ain't quite living right. I can't go downstairs. I stay up here. You know. But just the symbolism of it is just so powerful to me, man. And I don't want to take up all the time, but JJ, you represent one of the later generations. You know, man of God, you came up after all of us, but I know I seen your posts and I watch your posts all the time, and I follow you. I know how special Bishop was to you, and that's one thing that we always talk about our Bishop. He was just that lover. He made everybody feel like they were the only person in the world that mattered. You know, like how can you make thousands of people feel like that? I'm not playing a favorite, but everyone is special to me. You don't have to fight for your room because you know you have a special place in my heart. God has given me a heart big enough that I can encompass enough love for all of you guys. You know, what was that like being a part of your generation? You know, one of the crumb snatchers, as we used to say, when all the wrestlers was coming up, you know, just later years. What was that like for you coming up in that ministry and then later on and as a grown man now following in the footsteps and doing your own thing in ministry?
It was, I've never realized, I'll say this, I've never realized his significance until walking around the funeral. I was sitting there, you know, and for the most of my life, everybody, newsflash, most people think I wanted to be like a preacher. I never wanted to be a preacher. I wanted to be like him. I was a kid and I seen him, and I think I was like 5 and sitting there, you know, looking at those lights they had, and they turned the lights on and they had the cross lit up. And I don't remember what was wrong with the lady, but she came up there and he prayed for her and she got healed. And I was sitting there and I said, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I didn't know anything about pastor, bishop, none of that kind of stuff. I just said I wanted to be like him. And literally a year to the day that he died, we was like 5 a.m. And the day before we talked, and I said, I'm gonna spend the whole day with you. This is like literally a year before. And I went. The goal was to go and pick him up at dialysis, and I was going to just drive. I didn't even drive up there. I took a bus up there because I said, I'm going to drive you around, spend the whole day with you. He met me before I met, I'm like, I told you I was supposed to, you know, do this, and I'm the bishop. I said, okay, all right, boss. And it was a year prior to him, you know, transitioning that we're sitting there talking. And I said, you know, growing up, for the most part, I didn't really get the bishop that, you know, all the rest of the pastors and preachers that used to talk about him. talked about. We was talking about it, and I said, I never really got a chance to experience that. I said, as a kid, I said, me and Bishop's biggest, first of all, let me say this. I was listening last week, and it's just puzzling to me how all these people said they never heard him raise his voice. I did. I did. And so one time, I'll never forget, we were going back and forth. He stayed on me about school. All right, he stayed on me about school like it was nothing. And I think I was like 8, and Evangelist Graham came, and she prophesied, I was going to have this, ministry, blah, blah, blah. And so I came in the next week. I told Bishop, I said, you see, used to have the chairs on the side. I said, y'all need to escort me up there next week. And, he got my report card, and he's like going. And I mean, you would have thought I murdered somebody. And I'm like, it's just a D. Like, it's not the end of the world. And I said, I'm trying to learn how to cast out demons, not, be a mathematician. Like, it's just a D. He stayed on me about school. He stayed on me about when I turned 18, about, college and getting a job and things like that. He taught me how to be a man. He didn't teach me how to be a preacher. And so I was walking around I'm sitting there at the funeral, and I think it was the final, it was Sunday. It was the Sunday service. And I'm sitting there, and then after the service, all the bishops and things, they're walking down the stairs, and I'm walking out, and Bishop, what's his name? Timothy Clark. He bumps into me, and he's like, how are you? And, we're talking, and he brought up my book, and I'm like, I didn't think anything of it at the time, and I was telling him how the book was going. And then he was like, how you doing out there? And, he's asking me how I'm doing in ministry here. And I'm telling him, he was like, in your mouth, and your sarcasm, and we're joking and things like that. It didn't dawn on me, like, Bishop Clark and I don't have a relationship.
Yeah.
Me and the bishops at Joint College don't have a relationship. Like, he would buy my books in like dozens. And I never asked him what he was doing for it. He was buying them, giving them money. I said, here you go. And he was taking the stuff and giving it to them. So when we had interactions, it was more like, father and son, get this done, get this done, get this done. And I listened to all of these peers of his talked about me from the perspective that he gave that I never knew. And that's really what it was. I never really got the bishop preacher side. Most of the preachers were talking about. I just got the man. He told me how to do things. He yelled and was completely I got a different bishop than the holy, the holy man of God. That he was holy, but I got a different bishop than the angelic man that
You got to peek behind the curtain.
Right. I spent life, for the most part, I think I'm the only kid that used to ditch school just to come to church. I would ditch school to go to 12 noon prayer. And when they would do 12 noon prayer, 801 on Tuesdays, when Bishop would have his appointments with people and things like that, he would be coming in. And he was like, shouldn't you be in school? I'm like, oh no, my school closed today. My school closed today. And I would literally go to the church after school, sneak and ditch school to go to the church office. I just wanted to be near him. And a lot of the stuff that I do now, though I went to go get training later on, I didn't learn it from Bible college. A lot of the stuff that I learned, I didn't learn it from being at any of these workshops and class. I learned from watching him. And so part of me still hasn't really clicked yet. I said maybe in like the next year or so, hasn't really clicked yet, but yeah, just that's every day. I'm doing something, I'm saying something. I get up to preach and I'm realizing I'm using jokes and people are just sitting there looking at me and not knowing what I'm talking about. I'm preaching an hour 45 minutes and still able to go, and it's coming from so I'm learning, I'm seeing now the effects that he's had on me all of these years.
Yeah, and that's powerful. Like you said, you got to see another side of him other than just this embodiment of holiness. But the beautiful thing, and even in that, when we would see the man, just the man,
Right.
not the pastor, not the bishop, when we would see the man, even when he would get on us and when he would chastise us, it was still always done out of love.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you never, Bishop, I can't think of anybody, and I can only speak for myself, but maybe you guys feel the same way. I can't never think of a time where Bishop got on me and it wasn't warranted. Or it felt like he was just picking on me this day. You know what I mean? Like it was always out of love. You know, shout out to my boy Pastor, my brother Dale, Pastor Dale Cesarone. And check out his CD out. It gets better now. It's out there. They got the club mix, and they just came out with the video this week. But one thing that me and Dale, we met through his brother-in-law. Me and his brother-in-law are like this, and we were talking about, we was at the house talking, and they had came down to visit, and I was telling him, like my brother was like, yo, man, because when I first told my brother, he was one of the first people that I called after that talking to you, Mar. You know, like, you know, we lost Bishop Everett. And my man Daniel just like broke down, like, nah, he's never been a member of Jesus is Coming. But it affected Daniel like it was his pastor.
Right.
And he was like, bro, you know, look, don't be by yourself. Come on, chill with me and the family. Just come over here and we, you know, be around loved ones. Don't be by yourself right now. Because I know what Bishop was to you. And when we get there, Dale was there and we were talking, and Dale realized that you know, I told him that, you know, my uncle and my bishop had passed away. You know how it was. Sorry to hear about your loss, man. I'm keeping my prayers and all that did. But then Bishop's name came up. He was like, you mean Bishop Everett from Springfield Avenue? I said, yeah. You know, that was my uncle. He said, oh my God, and his whole countenance changed. He was like, yo, he said, this man, he said, Bishop, he said that was a true man of God. And this was his experience that he's telling me about with Bishop. He said, I forgot who invited him, but somebody had invited him to the church for a musical program. And I'm not sure what song he sung, but whatever song that they performed, it ain't sit well with Bishop. You know, because that was one of those things with Bishop. You know, Bishop ain't like you just singing any and everything. I remember, and I hope I'll get in trouble for telling this, but it is what it is. Me and my brother, we always talk about how, you know, when Hezzy came out with Won't He Make You Clean Inside, Bishop was like, yo, y'all can't sing that here. That sounds too much like an X-Lax commercial. You know what I mean? We try to win souls here. We not trying to make them clean. We're not going to be singing that around here. And Dale said, whatever the song was, he said Bishop came to speak to him after the concert was over. And he said, you know, God bless you. Introduce himself to him. And he said, you know, I enjoy your choir. You know, keep on letting the Lord use you. But when you do such and such and such, whatever the problem that Bishop had with the particular song, he explained it to Dale in a way that only Bishop could do it. And Dale was like, yo, he said, I had never been chastised in such a loving way in my entire life. He was like, and I've never forgot Bishop. He said, I don't think my choir ever sung that song again, anywhere. Not just at his church, but just anywhere after having this one particular conversation with Bishop. So, you know, even though, like you said, everything wasn't always just preaching, but everything that he did in the pulpit and out of the pulpit was all out of love.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the Bible says that God is love. He was the epitome of love. And I had to share this with somebody, like, you know, I talked about it last week. No, we're not praising a man. We're just giving him the respect that he has earned. We're not giving him anything. We're giving him his roses because he's earned it. He's earned this love. He's earned this admiration. He's earned this level of respect. Not by what he said, not by what he preached, or how good he go hoop and holler, how he grab his head, but by the life that he lived in front of us.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, those things are measurable. Like you said, Mark, him taking you out. You know, he was a New Yorker. He would always do when it comes to the hot dogs. You know, yeah, you know, y'all don't know how to eat hot dogs over here in New Jersey. Cause y'all like to put that red stuff on your hot dogs. You ain't supposed to put no red stuff on a hot dog.
Yeah.
And that's like one thing that we always could do. And I meant to share with Anessa last week. I said, I used to tease him about it because I said, you have to be the only person on the entire planet that actually likes chocolate ice cream. You are the only person that I know that likes chocolate ice cream. So you like chocolate ice cream too, Faith?
I like chocolate.
I like chocolate, but not chocolate ice cream.
I like chocolate ice cream.
Wow. So you make the second person that I know that actually like chocolate ice cream. But I actually went and got some chocolate ice cream on his birthday last week. But that was like a special thing. Like Mar, me and you, we never talked about this, but what was it like for you? Because being who Bishop had elevated to, and who he became in ministry, he was on the College of Bishops, and he know all these people, and he's on the debate for the whole Carlton Pearson exclusion thing, and it was just like, even though we knew him and we had this relationship with him, it was like to the rest of the world who didn't have the relationships that we did, he was like this enormous figure.
Right.
So never in a million years, even though he was my bishop, he was my uncle, I loved him dearly. Never in a million years that I thought I would have the privilege and the honor to be a palm bearer at his funeral. Because I figured it'd be too many other higher up dignitaries that didn't have that. I appreciate, shout out to Overseer Vanessa again for affording us the opportunity, me, you, my brother Steve, Aaron, and everybody else. But if you don't mind, share a little bit about that, how much that meant to you.
Just like I'm gonna tell you, there's not too many people in my life that were in my life that I put on like that level, that I had so much honor and respect for. And for whatever reason, I'm gonna tell you, I was the type of person coming up. My mom, my sister, they'll tell you when it came to funerals and touching caskets and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't my thing. I was not touching anybody's casket. There's only 2 caskets that I've ever done that for, and that was and it's because the people they meant that much to me and had that such a hold on my heart, and that was my grandmother and the bishop. And when I was asked to be a pallbearer for my grandmother, I was honored to do that. It's an honor. And when I was asked to be a pallbearer for the bishop, that was an honor, man. When I started working on his door, to me that was like an honor. I was like, wow, you want me to do this? So it was just an honor to do it, man. I got that much love and respect for that man. I mean, and I can't say that for too many people. I love people. There's some other men that I love. I got uncles and brothers that I love. But it was just that's another level, man. It was just another level. And like I said, he wasn't my biological father, but that's how I see him, and that's how I loved him, just like that.
Yeah. And like I said, it was just, it's very humbling.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I know exactly what he meant to you. It's like what he mean to me, and what he mean to so many people.
Yeah.
But everybody can't have that honor, and it was like, wow, like, man, I don't care what we got to do.
Yep.
If we need to be here at 2:00, we're gonna be here at 2:00. Whatever you need to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was, and it's funny how you talked about him going on the trip with him and my dad. I remember, if you remember, I was good until my father actually spoke at one of the services, and he talked about that. He talked about that being his brother, and Dad said it best. He was an adjutant before there was a term.
Yeah.
All the way back to the apostle tenders. Like, there wasn't no term for that yet. There wasn't no armor bearer or adjutant. Like,
they ain't had no title.
It's like, hey, Lamar, grab the bag.
Yep.
Boo, you grab the Bible. and let's go.
Yep.
Make sure you hold on to these keys. So I know where the keys is at. So you know what I mean?
Right.
You better know where them keys is at.
Yep.
And I don't care who they are. Don't you get the keys to nobody else. If I give you the keys, I better get the keys back from you. You know what I mean? Just those little things. Just those little things that stuck with you. And like you say, man, I can never put it into words how invaluable, because I can remember those rides. I remember those rides. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was like, it seemed like, you know, even when we talk about Bishop, a lot of these people would have liked to have experienced him this way.
Right.
But the ones of us that had that real relationship, I know me, I didn't look forward to the rides home. I was trying to find a ride home with somebody else in the congregation, so Bishop wouldn't have to be the one to take me. You know what I mean? Because it was like that little 5-10 minutes. It seemed like those were the longest rides of my life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because I just never know what the conversation was going to be,
right.
whether it was going to be light. It's just like,
yeah.
You know, I'm in here with Bishop.
Yeah,
I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to enjoy the ride.
Yeah. There was a lot of counsel going on.
And you know, Mar, like our whole thing, even when I was talking about how he would chastise us out of love and stuff. I can remember when I was the primary drummer at that particular time, and I was doing my thing and on the drums. Mm-hmm. But I was also making a name for myself in high school football. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to feel myself. And you know, I'm loving the attention from the girls and cheerleaders and all that kind of stuff. And I remember one of those rides is just me and him. And he said, look, you got a decision you got to make. Either you're gonna love the girls or you're gonna love Jesus. Now, you know, in other words, it ain't no nepotism here. You might be my nephew, and I might love you to death, but you're not gonna be playing the drums if you're not living the life.
Yeah.
You know, you got a choice to make.
Yeah. And
I'm like, Bishop, but you know, I love the drum. I love Are You Ready? Are you ready for the coming of the Lord? I love playing, you know. I love getting down. So he was like, well, I understand that, but you got a decision to make. And I was like, hey, I just love the girls a little bit better. You know what I mean? I love Jesus, but I love the girls. So I guess I can't play no more. And you know what he did, Mark? He hit us with the favorite line. And that was worse than any beating you could ever get. He put his hand on his heart and said, son, I'm grieved.
I'm grieved.
You hear that grieve? Listen, that was worse than any belt. That was worse than any tongue lashes. Just those two words right there. I'm grieved, because it's like you said, he was just such a figure to us. Yeah. How could I let him down? Yeah. How could I hurt him? How could I grieve his heart? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just, it just shows, again, a testament of the man, because one of the things that I truly admire and I love about him that I would like to see more leaders do, especially in this time and age, is one thing that I remember vividly is Bishop would always say is, follow me as I follow Christ.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't see me following Christ, go ahead and jump ship.
Yep.
But if you see me following Christ, you can follow me as long as you see me following Christ. And that's the ultimate. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You have questions about spirituality. And I'm quite sure, like you said, you have quite sure you in y'all conversations, you had some of those conversations too, JJ. But it's like he would never leave you alone, no matter what it is, even if he didn't have the answer. Well, let us find it out. Let us do this research and study it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bishop would tell you, no, don't just take the word that I give you on Sunday for yourself. Take notes and go home and read it for yourself. And get something from, you know what I mean? He was constantly making us better stewards, better helping us grow our relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
You know, and that's immeasurable, because you don't see that a lot these days. You know, one of the words that I keep saying, and I've been saying a lot in a lot of these shows, is how he was very accessible. And I consider that an honor and a privilege above all these days, because I'm quite sure, and I don't mean no shade or nothing like that there, but I'm quite sure all TD Jakes members can't go talk to him after service.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got a lot of these preachers that are not even known on the level of a TD Jakes, but you have no access to them.
Right.
They're not coming to see your mother.
Right.
You know, like Bishop would go and pray in the hospital.
They're gonna send one of the deacons.
Exactly. Like my ex-wife's her grandmother never ever been to a service at Deliverance Jesus Coming, but Bishop, because of who he was and who she was, he would go visit her in the hospital and pray with her.
Right.
What's her name? Elsie Williams. Okay, I'll be there to see Miss Elsie.
Yeah.
And go sit down there and talk to her and pray with her, just like she was one of his mothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was just so giving. And I used to tease him all the time. Like I know for a fact, like I was talking about the LeBron thing, I knew I could never follow in his footsteps because let's just be honest. I'm real enough to say I don't like people. I'm gonna just be real. For the most part, I don't like people. I love sports more than I love some people because people are people. You feel me?
Yeah.
But Bishop, he was never like that. He loved everyone. He loved everyone, and I always considered one of the things that I was jealous and envious of him was one of the gifts that God did give him was his memory. You know, Kev always teased me about how I can remember everything.
Yo,
but
yeah,
Bishop had a memory second to none.
I was gonna say, bro, you remember it all, man.
Man, not like Bishop. Bishop could have preached a service in Los Angeles, California in 1982 and could tell you at least 50 of the members' name that was there from just him visiting. It's amazing how he goes out of town to all these different places, and some of the pastors are shocked because he's asking them about such and such. They might have left the church 2 or 3 years ago, but Bishop remembered them. Yeah. And these pastors looking like, how do he remember these people? It was just a gift from God because he had that love capacity. God gave him the confidence to be able to love everyone like that. And, you know, and experience that love and feeling it. Like I said, if you never known that anybody else, if you never felt love in your life, then you never known Bishop James Everett.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much hell has been going on in your life. If you cannot have known him and say that you never felt loved before, that's impossible.
Yep.
There's nobody that can say that, and I consider that honest. Rod was running late from work. That was Rodney hitting me up. He probably won't be able to make it. But we're going to wrap up soon anyway. I just wanted to go back around and give everybody an opportunity to, you know, share one last memory or, you know, share words with even Bishop if you want to. Because one of the things that I shared even last week, I made it a habit. I keep trying. I make it, you know, out of a force of habit. We say, you know, we loved him and he was this and he was that. And I'm like, I can't sit well. It just don't sound right to me because I still love him. He is still all that. He's not physically here no more, but he still is everything that he ever was to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I didn't love him. I still love him. Yeah, I love him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if anybody got any words that they want to share or just a memory in particular that they want to share as we wrap up, I'm gonna give y'all the floor.
Babe, anything?
No, I just like he just taught me really how to love, that I can just like listen to people. And I didn't realize, like on my job, a lot of people come to me and they just be talking to me and everything, and I listen, and they like, he was always somebody I can go to, you can go to, and you can just talk to him and he will listen to you. Not always gave a comment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not was always a comment. And I get that at the job. I just sit there and they just talk. I don't judge them or nothing. If they ask for my opinion, I give it to them. If they don't get it. I'm glad that he instilled in me that I can just sit with somebody and they can talk to me and I can just listen to them. Because a lot of times they need to just get stuff off their chest.
Right.
And I appreciate he instilled that to me, and I realized that I do that. Mm-hmm. That's just something I picked up on and didn't even realize it until somebody was talking to me, and I was like, Bishop used to do that.
Right.
And I appreciate. I love the man. I love the man. I still love him.
Absolutely. What you got, Jay?
Best I remember, I would say, out of all the years being there, the greatest moment perhaps was our last last time we spent time together, not the last time we spoke, but the last time we spent the time together, spent literally the whole day from sun up, sundown, and we're going all over the place. And I don't know how he had the capacity to really, as you said, like love everybody. We're sitting down eating, and people are like, he's talking to the waiters and things like that. And I'm like, hello, I came from out of state. Like it's, you know, we shared. And at that moment, like we talked about everything. I often tell everybody, like I always thought preachers in church was like him. I thought everybody was like this. I didn't really know that there was preachers that did things wrong until, I got in back rooms with preachers and listened to things. Like I didn't realize that stuff went on. And a lot of preachers used to tell me all the time, like, you're just doing too much. You're just trying to be too, but to me, that's what I seen, that's what he lived. And was sitting there and he started talking about stuff that he thought he failed on over the years in ministry. He started talking about stuff he thought he should have possibly changed. And I should have probably maybe did this way. And it was like, even in the conversation, I don't know. I've never really been too, even as a kid, I've never really been too sold on preachers. And I'm a church boy, but I've just never really cared for that many men in particular. I just don't really click with me. It was Bishop, Pastor B, Evangelist Graham. It wasn't none of those. Just stay away from me. And the last conversation over the last year or so, me and Bishop Hilliard began to connect and things like that. And Bishop started talking, and he said to me, "Stay close to him." And I'm like, "No," he said, you listen to me, because Bishop was the only one that knew how to get me to do what he wanted me to do without exactly telling me what to do. Everybody else, why? Did God tell you to tell me that? I gave everybody an evangelist Graham because she scared me. But outside of them two, like I gave everybody why. And he and that last time we had to spend together, I got more out of that conversation, more out of that day than I can almost 30 years of knowing the man. Like I left New Jersey and I'll say this, though we spoke after that, because of that day, we had the perfect goodbye. He really just spent that day just talking about everything from ministry to family to life to everything. And I left New Jersey, like, I came back to Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh, y'all can make me a bishop now because ain't nothing else nobody could teach me. I got it. Like that day, he just poured like everything. And we even, made a comment. We was joking around and things like that. And we brought Apostle Skinner up, and he was telling me about how that whole thing, just how he was in that moment and things like that. And I joked around and I said, God knows whenever it's time for you to go, listen, they just put me in the mental ward for a little while and things like that. And we joked around and he just started talking about, how he envisioned things in the future. And it was literally like the best day I think I've ever spent with him, because I got to know him in a way I think I'll never would have never imagined. Stuff that came out of his mouth, I don't think I would have ever imagined coming out of his mouth, or even been prepared to come out of his mouth that day. So yeah, that will always be the best. We were supposed to spend 2 days together, and the first day, as much as I had access to him, I always didn't want to bother him. I always like, no, you busy, and I just, I said, I'm gonna come tomorrow. I'm not coming that night. I think the first night they were praying for everybody. He was praying for the whole church or something like that. And it's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm gonna come tomorrow night. And I came, and yeah, it was literally like the best day ever. So That's even now. I refer back to that day. That's what keeps me, just that day, the stuff that he shared, the stuff that he a lot of the stuff that I complain about in ministry and complain about even through this show. That's why I thank you for doing this show this much. There's stuff that I learned about him. You know, some stuff he just didn't like talk about himself too much. Some stuff that I didn't know, and I'm realizing stuff that I used to get by myself getting frustrated with in ministry. To hear that he went through the same things, it's kind of just like, oh wow. You know, I just did what he said because he was bishop, not because he actually went through the same thing. So it's just thank you for doing the show. That's how I did.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking out the time to actually do this, man. I appreciate it. Big bro.
Yes, sir.
On you. What you got in closing?
Hey, man, all I could say, man, is the bishop is one of the probably one of the biggest, not probably, definitely one of the biggest male influences in my life. You know, I love and respect and honor that man so much. I mean, you know, it's just I admire everything about him. And I just, like I said, man, if I could just be half as good as a person as he was, I'll be fine. I'll be all right, you know? And that's really it, man. It's hard to, you know, it's still sometimes hard to just believe that he's not physically here with us, you know? You know, this time of year, you know, last year we were up there, you know, taking that picture that's on your wall right there, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm never gonna forget, you know, now because of everything that's happened since then, I'm never gonna forget that look on his face and how that whole thing transpired, man. You know, and then I'm so glad that, you know, a few weeks later, you know, you and I, you know, we did get a chance to see him when he came down here, you know, not knowing that was going to be it, man. I mean, not knowing the next week he was going to go back up north and that was going to be it, you know? So it's just, man, it's not, like I said before, man, it's not too many men that, you know, that I got this much love and respect for, and he's one of them. And I just love him, man. I just love him and respect him. I thank him for, you know, allowing me to be as close to him as he allowed me to be. And, you know, it's made me, you know, the man that I am. You know, he's poured so much into me. It's you know, it's hard not to, you know, still reflect on those lessons and everything that he poured in, you know. It's still here and it bubbles up. And, you know, when we get to talking and we you know, you, me, Kev, and we talk about stuff or whatever, you know, you can best believe something that the bishop put in us is going to come up in that conversation. Some kind of way, there's something's going to come out, you know, that has something to do with the bishop. And we all know that's where it is and where it came from. And it's because, you know, he's just that much a part of all of our lives. And, you know, and I'm gonna stop before I start getting teary-eyed over here and emotional. So,
man, I appreciate you, man.
I love him.
And I shared with Overseer last week. You know, there's this picture of Martin and Malcolm together. They sitting there and both of them are laughing. Mm-hmm. That's like the most powerful picture to me because, you know, the way history tries to paint that picture that they was two men fighting for the same thing, going about it totally different, you know, Bloods and Crips like they was at war. But here it is, these two men are having a peaceful laugh together. I think that picture, you know, like they say, a picture says 1,000 words. That's like my favorite picture. Everybody know who Muhammad Ali is to me. I don't like to use that word hero much, you know, but Muhammad Ali was definitely one of those ones to me, especially being that I never got the chance. I got to see him in person, but never got a chance to meet him. Right. And it was just like Bishop. And when we took this picture here, shout out to Denez Hicks. She get the photo credits. And before I forget, Faith, I need the video. I need the video because we took this picture, but if you remember, Dinesh took the picture, but you was filming it on your phone, recording it.
Okay.
It's like a 40-second or so video when we first come in. I need that, like, please, I need that.
Y'all didn't see his face. When I said to him, Bishop, I got these guys that said they was here to help you preach. He was like, huh? And then I just moved out. The way. And then when y'all all came into his office, because he was like, I don't need
And I can still hear the laugh. I will never forget that laugh when he actually laid eyes on it and seen it as us. And like you say, Mark, like for him to be who he was to us, to be able to put that smile on his face.
Yes, sir. Meant a lot. Yep.
That's one of the biggest moments of my entire life.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I think you said it right, man. Hero is the word, man. He's all of our hero. I mean, and you know, there's no shame. You know, I have to take no shame in saying that. Mm-hmm. I love that man, and he was a hero, man. He is our hero. You know,
and forever will be.
Forever will be.
Forever will be. He's irreplaceable.
Yeah,
he's definitely irreplaceable. So, you know, even with you, big bro, I thank you for being a part of my life. But it's like I said, I can never put it into words when I think about it. It's like, you know, I got my big bros, and I got Bishop, and I just love it because I feel like it's a gift from God to me. This picture right here symbolizes a picture of gift of God to me. When I think about the embodiment of my life and who I am and who I'm yet to become and who I am supposed to be, it's so much to me because I love the way that Apostle Skinner is still nestled perfectly.
Yeah, right
there in the picture, and when you can see it in between it. Yeah, and all of this started from his ministry.
That's right.
So like that trickled down. You know, it can't stop with us.
Yeah.
The legacy can't stop with our generation. Yeah. It has to keep going. We have to raise another generation of soul winners.
Yeah.
Like you say, JJ, not preachers, not bishops necessarily, not elders necessarily, but soul winners. Soul winners. Like our only mission is supposed to be about winning souls for the kingdom, not with our local assemblies. Like we got to get back to soul winning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as we win souls for Christ, then we will see an influx in those numbers. Because at the end of the day, you know what? People don't care what you know until they know that you care. You know, and that's something that I wish a lot of these preachers would learn to understand. Bishop got that. He showed us that he cared. He didn't show us that he just cared, but he showed us that he loved.
Yep.
And we thank you for that because of who you are and because of your love for us. Now we are able, like I said myself, somebody that didn't necessarily like people. Now I'm able to have a relationship with God where he's giving me love for people. I love being a part of the community and helping young folk because, like you said, Mark, we don't know what it was, but at the end of the day, guess what? I'm quite sure, and Bishop, he knew. Guess what? Even if I got to take them to Elizabeth, even if I got to take them to Coney Island, guess what? He ain't gonna be on East Jersey. He ain't gonna be on Grand. You know what I mean? If they're in church with me and I'm putting them to work, then they can't be out there in the streets getting in trouble. Then I ain't gotta get the phone call to bail nobody out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and instead of just let me preach at them, no, let me get them in here. This is a camera. This is a 500 lens. This is this here. I need you taking pictures because we got, you know what I mean?
That's right.
He put us to work.
Yep.
He put us to work, and it was like he got us to the place where it became where it wasn't work.
Right.
You know, it came to the point. Even if we wasn't coming to church to hear word, well, I got to go there because Bishop need these pictures taken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He made us part of the ministry, man.
Exactly. He made us, and it felt good to be youth, like you say, to be youth and be a part of something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see these churches where the people go over there and sit down. You know, hey, y'all get off them microphones. Put them drumsticks down. Don't touch them keyboards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bishop, he believed in No, raise up a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it. You know, so put him to work.
Yeah.
Show him how to show him why we have all night prayer.
Yeah.
Teach them the difference between praying and intercessory prayer. Because there is a difference. Teach them even as a children the importance of praying and fasting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the things that, as I close, you know, one of the things that he taught me that I really felt some kind of way when he taught me this. I was like, oh, Bishop, like this not cool, and I didn't want to learn that. And that's the thing about Bishop. He made teaching the word fun. Like you wanted to learn. You wanted to learn. He made it very interesting. But one of the things that he shared with me was, because I remember he was asking me if I had heard a word that the house had received at the time. Somebody had prophesied to the church as a whole. And this was at the time where I'm getting older, so I'm starting to develop my street thing. I don't want to do the church thing no more. I want to see what's in these streets. You know what I mean? I want to see why y'all telling me to stay out these streets. And I told him, I said, well, no, you know, I ain't been here in a while, so I don't know what the word was. I don't know what the word was. That don't apply to me. And he said, that's interesting that you would say that. He said, when you miss a day of school, does that negate you from having to take a test? And I said, nah. I said, I don't see that. He said, you still reliable for the information that was taught, whether you was physically at a desk or not, because you still gonna have to take a test at the end of the day. You still gonna have to give an account. You're gonna still have to take that exam. So whether you was where you needed to be or not, you're still responsible for that same information. I said, Bishop, that ain't cool because I don't miss more than one class. You know what I mean? I got to go back and dig up the tapes, and you know, it was just a pleasure. You know, thank God Almighty, my mom was running the bookstore, so I had access to the tapes and stuff. But you know, I really thank God for him. I thank God for everything that he represented. Which at the end of the day, you know, I used to hear in the CC, you know about the CCMs, JJ. When I first got to Arkansas, that was like a big thing. You know, they like to call the diehard Christian Jesus freaks. And when I first heard it, I felt real offended. But the first time I heard it and I felt offended, I said, I bet you Bishop wouldn't be offended by being called a Jesus freak because he loved Jesus that much.
Yes, he did.
You know, I was sharing with somebody the other day. I've never seen anybody share their love for God and their whole countenance change. Like he would just literally light up when he was beginning to talk about the love of God. Like it was like another gear. It didn't matter how his body may have felt. It was like something zooming that when he talked about Jesus and he talked about his love for God, it was a different side of him. And it was like, God, if I could ever just get, like you said, Mar, I don't even want 50%. If I could just get 10%, like a license, if I could just get just a portion, just a portion of it, that'll be all right with me, you know. But Bishop, we love you. We thank God for you. I thank each and every one of you for taking out the time to do this. And I thank you guys. Like I said, I wanted to have you guys on here to wrap up this show as the year and this month is actually coming to an end. But I actually wanted to have this crew right here together because, you know, we covered the Maranatha era. We covered, you know, my mom and dad, Nisi. They did Adrian Lewis. They did an episode. Then last week, like y'all say, we had the heavy hitters. I dug in my bag and got some of the Deliverance Evangelistic Center, you know, members to come out and contribute. You know, the OGs and the game, you know, to Brother Jimmy. You know, they knew him before Pastor. You know, they knew him as Brother Jimmy. They seen him on ground zero level. You know what I mean? So I thought it was important to have them, and then also to have the lovely Vanessa Everett on, his wife, last week. That was a true treat and a pleasure. So in tying this up, because I do believe next week I'm going not gonna preach. I'm gonna tell y'all that now. I'm not gonna be preaching, but I am gonna share something that the Lord gives me in tribute to Bishop Everett. And to close out this month as well as the year. Because we've been hearing that. We see it on our timelines all the time. I can't wait for 2020 to be over. We almost out of here. And not to sidetrack, but I wanna tell people, yeah, 2020 is about to be over. We have a little over a week left. But at the end of the day, 2020 will be gone, but coronavirus will not be. We're going to still have all the same mess and all the nonsense going on that we still living with now. So, I hate to burst y'all bubble for everybody that's looking forward to 2021 on January 1st. There's not going to be a magical chemical that's in the air that's going to just get rid of everything that we're going through. So still be safe, still stay prayed up, still be responsible, protect your families and your loved ones, and let the people that you know love you. Let them know that you love them while you still can.
True that.
People that you have beef with and that you griping with, get it right. Because nobody is promised tomorrow. Like I say personally, if nobody's even promised this afternoon, it's already after 8 o'clock, but it used to be saying that nobody's promised tomorrow. Nobody is promised today. There's somebody that went to work today that didn't come home, So let's stop sweating all the small stuff and get things right with one another. But most importantly, let's make sure we got things right with God. Make sure that our relationships and our hearts are right with Him above and everybody else. Because I promise you one thing. I promise you this, and I'm gonna let y'all go. But you get your heart right with God, all the rest of that stuff will fall in line. There's no way in the world that you can have the love of God and you still feeling some kind of way about somebody else or how they did you. It's impossible because His love can't occupy that same space. So let's focus on that. Get your heart right with God. And as you do that, there, allow God to work out everything else. And with that being said, know that Bishop, we love you. We thank God for you. Joey, did you have anything in closing as we wrapping up?
No, I just love you guys. I love you guys so much.
Love you
And
too,
Love you
Joey.
too.
You guys.
I thought you was gonna sing it out. You gonna
What
sing
we
it out?
singing out? What we
I
singing?
know.
Let the church say amen.
All
Let
right.
the church
Amen.
say amen. God is spoken. So let the church say amen.
Amen. Right.
Amen.
All right,
God
Joey.
bless y'all. Good night.
I
Thank you for
love
tuning
y'all.
in.
Oh,
And
Good
as
night.
usual, DeAndre Lysa, know that Daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally.
That's
Till next
right.
week. Peace.
Salute.
Peace.
Love you all.
Love
All
y'all.
right.
Bye-bye.
All right.